Hey YouTube, welcome to my video. I want to talk to you today about 5 things I wish I knew before starting grad school. So right now I am in the PhD program at Texas A&M University, and I'm studying computational material science and engineering. Long title, but very great topic. I'm going into my 4th year now, so I've completed all of my classes and I've been a co-author on a paper that has been published recently. I'm also either a co-author or the first author on about 3 or 4 other projects that are right on the edge of being in the publication process, or are in the publication process at the moment. And I'm also a part of a startup where I've been a co-author on a paper that was awarded an SBIR Phase 1 grant. And this is a grant offered by the National Science Foundation for small businesses, and a pretty competitive amount of people in that space. So I've been making steady progress and I've had a bit of success so far. So I wanted to share some things that I've learned throughout the process that maybe can help you make the decision on if you want to go to grad school, or how to improve your productivity in grad school now. The first thing I wish I knew was how I learned. And that is my first piece of advice, is to learn how you learn. So take a few moments after this video or now to think of the times in undergrad or just in life in general where you best learned a new topic. You know, there's no flashback here, but maybe you liked reading more or enjoyed watching online videos, or maybe actually doing example problems and different things like that. If you're more of a reader, please remember that the assigned textbook for a class is not the only description of that information that is out there. It's very likely that the exact same info is in another book that's written differently that you actually can understand. So I've experienced this many times before personally. If you like watching videos, on the other hand, there's probably a video online about that topic somewhere, especially today in 2020, where you've got YouTube and just hours and hours, and other resources as well, where you've got hours of video that are accessible from anywhere at any time. And so keep that in mind. Also, a very major lesson is that there are many methods of studying, like doing a group study or discussing questions with the professor during their office hours, or even attending their teaching assistant's office hours. But not every one of these options is the best way for you to learn necessarily. Each one of these options are available, but they might not all be beneficial to how you learn. And instead of doing methods that may seem like the most fun or the most engaging, or just checking off the boxes of I've done all of these different things, I should understand the information, which is not the case. The highest priority thing is to understand the information and to choose the method of studying that puts the information in your brain the fastest and makes it stick. The second thing I wish I learned was to document what I did. And by document, I mean writing down or saving any results that you get from research-specific tasks that you completed the previous week. Documenting can be done in something as simple as a journal or something more sophisticated like a software program. For me, I like to use good old-fashioned PowerPoint, and I do this because I can easily copy and paste plots from other places into PowerPoint, and once there, I can annotate the plots, add notes to them, and different things like that. Also, if you come into meetings with your advisor every week or so, if you have check-in meetings weekly or however often, these PowerPoints or this documentation of what you did can serve 2 purposes. So one of them is that it's proof that you actually have been working. So if you come to a meeting with your advisor and show him or her a plot that they haven't seen before, it immediately tells them that you calculated something this week and even took the time to plot it in a way that might be meaningful. Good job. The second purpose is that your professors can more easily give you specific feedback on results, on if your results make sense, and how to format your data in the best way possible compared to how it may be presented at that moment. Um, Additionally, your plots and documentation can help facilitate your questions that you might have come up with during the week. So you can save a lot of time and energy by just having a plot that says, hey, how can I best show this? Or I was running into this type of problem. This is what I got as a result. What do you think I could do now or differently? A great bonus to all of this is that you now have content when making presentations for the future. So if you have a group meeting where you are presenting to your research group, or you have a conference presentation coming up, you automatically have this source of information that you can transfer right to a presentation that will be more visual. More people will be looking at it. My third piece of advice is it's your PhD, not theirs. I learned this lesson in a group meeting. I learned it from a more senior grad student than me in a group meeting that was becoming more and more intense because I was trying to explain something in my research, but sometimes I often will explain things a little slowly, or maybe not all the information was just presented outright, and my professor had to keep asking for more information. And so he was becoming a bit more and more impatient, and my whole group, which consisted of about 15 people, essentially were being held hostage from their weekend because of this situation that was going on. And at the end of everything, once the dust settled and everybody left, most of the younger students left, a few of the postdocs approached me, and one of them said, you know what, it's your PhD, not his. It's your PhD, meaning mine, and not my professor's. And looking back, I could see that I was taking a position of being reactive to my advisor's questions rather than proactively explaining what I had. So that would have, I believe, causing his frustration. However, this was the key. There should come a point in your PhD where you know more about your topic than your advisor does, because you're the one reading papers on it, answering questions, and maybe writing code on it, solving problems with the concept. And so at this point, you will essentially be telling your advisors what you have done to accomplish the overall goal of your PhD or of the paper. Now, the goal will initially be set by the professor and their co-authors possibly, or collaborators. But if you find information that suggests changing course, don't be afraid to say that in meetings where you might say something like, this is a question that I think we can answer, and here is exactly why we can answer it. So definitely remember that it's your PhD, not theirs. As you grow through the program, their role as an advisor transitions more into being exactly that, an advisor. They are advising you of methods to consider and things to read to help solve a problem that you might be facing. Your advisor and the professors that they're collaborating with already have their PhDs. So they essentially have unlimited time to work on research, but you, on the other hand, only have a certain amount of funding that is available, or other limited resources. So you really have to work hard to make sure that the projects that you're working on are progressing. Because remember, your PhD is on the line. They already have theirs. They already have it. The fourth thing I wish I knew was how to read and organize scientific papers. There are many aspects that go into reading papers, which honestly could be a whole video by itself. Comment down below if you would like to see a video on that, how to read papers in an effective way. But two of the biggest lessons that I've learned from the PhD so far is that when I'm reading a paper, I want to remember the main idea of the paper. The writers of scientific papers, they oftentimes want to answer one or two questions in the paper that they're writing. So remember what these specific questions are and the author's answers to them, or their how they address them. This many times can be found in the abstract, where they're describing this is exactly what we are looking for. So keep that in mind while you're reading the paper. Also, another big key point was that in many engineering papers, there will be a lot of math or a lot of pages of explanation on the topic, but not every part of every paper is critical for completing the work that you have. And it's okay to quickly skip to what authors have found important or the plots that they are showing in the paper. If you find this useful, this could be a first pass into the next step of the paper if you want to continue reading it more fully or more concretely. But as you read more and more papers, you'll be faster at determining if the paper is going to be useful to what you have to do based on a first glance through or first skim through the paper. Also, when reading papers, another thing to keep in mind is that review papers are one of the best ways to get an overview of a large topic. These papers literally are reviewing information on a certain topic, and they aim to explain what the state of the field is like, and what people are studying, what people have found out about specific parts of it, and what new questions that they want to answer going forward. So also keep in mind the date that the review was published, because you could be reading something from 2007, let's say, and you might think to yourself, wow, it's 2007, that's pretty recent. 2007 was more than 10 years ago. So yeah, remember to look at the date on those things. In terms of organizing papers, I found a few principles really helpful. One of them is just simply don't leave a paper up as a tab in your web browser. Instead, file it to whatever file system you have and label it in some type of way to read or to come back to, or something similar like that. Otherwise, you're likely to forget why the paper was relevant. This will help you not lose any papers if your computer crashes or it has to restart and you've just got 30 tabs of papers open that some of them may have been extremely useful, but now you don't have access to it. Or you could go back through your history, but that's a very roundabout way to getting back to the information that you had. So try to minimize as much as possible the number of tabs you have open of papers that you might find useful. For saving papers, I like to use an application called Zotero. It actually has the ability to automatically read data from the paper and input metadata, so data about the paper, into this system where the title will be automatically filled in, the date that it was published, any information that Zotero can find about the paper, it can automatically fill in this information in its own file system. So it's very helpful there. It's also helpful in the fact that you can drag and drop papers from Zotero into other applications that make it much easier to get the formatting right when you're citing papers. My last and final tip, the fifth thing that I wish I knew before starting grad school, was to set weekly goals. Now, this might sound cliche, but it's probably the most important point within this whole video. If you set a goal for your research, you have a more precise set of actions to take, which will make you more likely to do them. If you think about undergrad, for instance, your whole experience, for the most part, was a professor that was setting homework and lecture note goals for the class. This was in the form of the syllabus, where every week they showed, we're going to be going over this topic and this topic, and this homework will be due, or this project will be due. That essentially is very similar to setting a goal for yourself for that week. Say, for instance, if you are not in the class, you want to have some type of way to keep track of what you need to do and what the best next actions are for making your project move forward. Imagine starting a class in undergrad, or even grad school, where you go in on the first day, you get the syllabus, but there's no plan for each week, or there's no syllabus at all. You wouldn't really expect to learn a lot from this class. But in grad school, in terms of research, there's not going to be a professor that's over getting that research done. You're going to have to learn to say, okay, what do I need to do in order to finish this in a timely manner, so you're not in grad school forever. So check out my other video where I go over how I set goals for my research. I'll put a link in the description below. So these have been 5 things that I wish I knew before starting grad school. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this one on productivity or how-to, and even material science specific videos, which I have in mind to do in the future. If you found this video helpful, leave a comment below telling me which tip was the most eye-opening for you. And remember to share this with someone who's thinking about grad school, or just started grad school, or is in grad school now. They will really thank you for these lessons. I sure would have loved if I knew these things when I first started. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.